Thank you again, everyone, for dialing into our Ask the Experts, breast cancer awareness featuring the American Cancer Society. All lines are going to be muted for the remainder of the presentation, and we will have a question and answer portion of the presentation at the end, where we encourage you to type your questions in for the presenters. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness, supporting patients and survivors, and advancing research. Breast cancer remains the most common cancer among women in the U.S., with about 1 in 8 expected to be diagnosed during their lifetime. In 2025 alone, nearly 317,000 women and are projected to receive a breast cancer diagnosis. Throughout October, organizations and communities nationwide host educational programs, fundraising events, and social media campaigns to spread awareness and encourage early detection. As we observe this month, it is vital to continue advocating for research, equitable access to care, and research that provides hope and support, ensuring no one has to face breast cancer alone. Today, we are joined by the American Cancer Society to provide us with some very important information on breast cancer awareness. Elise is an Associate Director for Cancer Center Partnerships with the American Cancer Society. With a background in healthcare administration and public health, Elise has spent recent years working in population health and health equity spaces. She received a Bachelor of Business Administration degree from the University of Memphis and holds Master of Business Administration and Master of Public Health degrees from the University of South Dakota. Daniela is a Senior Development Manager for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer at Chicago. Since 2021, Daniela primarily interacts with sponsors, major donors, and top fundraising participants for the American Cancer Society. Daniela is from the Chicagoland area and has worked in the nonprofit sector since 2015 for various organizations in fundraising, individual giving, and events. Thank you so much for being with us here today, and I'll now turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dakota. We're so excited to present to the Chicago Transit Authority today. If you could go to the next slide, please.
Just checking to see if we're having any technical issues on our side.
Yeah, it's not advancing. Oh, there we go. Okay. Perfect. So just wanted to go over the agenda. First, Elise will be talking about why the American Cancer Society is the leader in the fight against breast cancer and share a little bit more about the American Cancer Society. She'll also talk about our Voices of Black Women study, which is a new study that we have launched. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about Making Strides Against Breast Cancer that CTA has always been a part of and a previous generous supporter of ours. And then Sarah is going to share about her breast cancer journey. So I will pass it off to Elise to get our presentation started.
Thank you, Daniela. You can go to the next slide. Yes. So as Daniela said, we are the trusted leader in the fight against cancer. American Cancer Society is the #1 trusted source for cancer information, and we have been doing this for over 100 years, and we are 3.5 million people strong across the country. Next slide. And the reason that we are the leader for the fight against cancer is because of our three-pronged approach. We have 3 pillars, and we are the only organization that supports people with cancer at every stage in their journey, from prevention to survivorship. So those 3 pillars are our Patient Support Division, which I am a part of, and then our American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, which is our advocacy arm. So the ACS CAN pillar advances advocacy through action. And then we also have our discovery pillar, which is where we are leading the fight against cancer through research. So doing this through our research that we are conducting on our own internally, and then the research that we are funding with some of the best cancer researchers across the country. And we do this with a health equity lens. across all of our pillars so that we are making an impact with every cancer and every life. Next slide, please. We just want to share today some updates on breast cancer facts and figures. So breast cancer is now the most commonly diagnosed cancer worldwide. It has surpassed lung cancer. And breast cancer affects both men and women. I always like to point out that men can get breast cancer as well. It is estimated that in 2025, approximately 2,800 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer and over 315,000 women. Addressing health equity and disparity issues among African American and Hispanic individuals is a much needed priority, in addition to other racial and ethnic groups. And despite death rates declining 42% over time, Black women are still 41% more likely to die of breast cancer than white women. And triple negative breast cancer is a type of breast cancer that has a poorer prognosis than other types of breast cancer. And triple negative breast cancer occurs at twice the rate in Black women compared to white women in the United States. And also breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer death among Hispanic and Latina women across the United States. And they are much less likely to be diagnosed at an early stage than non-Hispanic white women. And as we know, early detection is key to saving lives. Next slide, please. We have a very strong breast cancer track record. We have been a part of major breast cancer breakthroughs over the years. The American Cancer Society was the first to demonstrate safety and efficacy of mammograms for early detection. And we also funded research that led to the use of tamoxifen for breast cancer and the use of Herceptin to treat breast cancer as well. Next slide. I also like to point out too, this isn't in the slides, but we have funded 53 Nobel Prize winners. So just kind of a fun fact, what our research is, we are funding leading Nobel Prize winning researchers. And you can go to the next slide. And you can go to the one after this. Yes, thank you. Breast cancer screening. So as we just mentioned, mammography is an early detection strategy for breast cancer. And these are the recommended ages for breast cancer screening. So you can begin being screened for breast cancer starting at age 40. And these are guidelines for women of average risk. If you are of higher risk, then of course we encourage you to follow the guidelines and recommendation of your doctor. But beginning at age 40, if you are a woman of average risk, you can begin to get mammograms. But definitely starting at age 45 is when it is encouraged that women should get a mammogram every single year, but age 40 would be a best practice. At the bottom, I won't go through all of these, but we do have some questions to ask a doctor about cancer screening tests, how to schedule them, how often, where they can get them. But there are some helpful questions to ask at the bottom of that slide. And you can go to the next slide as well. So same thing, recommended screening ages, but then even further at the bottom is cancer screening conversation starters too. So we can all be a part of the conversation about screening and early detection, whether that is cervical cancer screening, breast cancer screening, colorectal cancer screening. All of these screening guidelines are important for early detection and prevention and helping save lives. So you can talk to your loved ones about if they've gotten their cancer screening by just letting them know that you care about them and their health and helping share the recommendations at what age we recommend what tests. Next slide, please. ACS Cares is an app that we have for people with cancer, but also their families and their caregivers. So this ACS Cares app allows people with cancer or their family members or caregivers to connect with trained volunteers that can provide them with some peer-to-peer support. Our ACS Cares team tries to be very intentional about matching patients, families, and caregivers with community volunteers who have a similar experience, whether that be a similar cancer type, Maybe the person with cancer is a veteran. We'll try to connect them with another veteran, but really just not only that shared experience with cancer, but shared lived experience as well, so that they're able to have that peer-to-peer support and really just be able to connect on a more intentional level. And this is available in both English and Spanish, and it can be downloaded through your phone's app store. Next slide, please. As Daniela mentioned in the agenda, we do have a study called Voices of Black Women that we want to share more information with you today. You can go to the next slide. Voices of Black Women is a population cohort study that we launched in May of 2024. This study is for it's not a clinical study. Like I mentioned, it's a population cohort study that exists of surveys that are emailed to participants to help them or to help us identify what is causing these greater disparities that I mentioned earlier in the presentation that Black women face across the cancer continuum. So why are Black women less likely to be diagnosed with cancer, but more likely to die of cancer? So in order to address these disparities, we have to understand first why they're happening. If you want to go to the next slide, I don't know if there's still, yes, thank you. So as I mentioned, we did launch this last year in 2024, and it is available to eligible women nationwide. And so in all 50 states and in Washington, D.C., you can go to the next slide. And so this is just more information about why this study is so important for the future of cancer prevention and survivorship. This will be once we have recruited our participants for this study, it will be the largest ever cohort study of Black women, and our goal is to recruit 100,000 participants. And again, there's more information about why we are specifically doing a study for Black women, and it is because they have the highest death rate and shortest survival of any racial and ethnic group in the United States for most cancers. So just some more information about that. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, enrollment is open in all 50 states and in Washington, D.C. We are looking for Black women between the ages of 25 and 55 who do not have a history of cancer. Again, this is more of a prevention study. And it is entirely online and self-paced. After the initial enrollment survey, the time commitment is estimated at about 30 minutes twice a year, so about an hour over the course of a year. There are options to provide additional information and data over time, but the actual Voices study itself is entirely online through surveys. And you can scan the QR code for more information about that. I know that this was shared with each of you as well. So if you would like more information about how to join or just more information about the study, the QR code will take you directly to the Voices website. If you're not eligible to join Voices of Black Women, there are ways to get involved. Everyone can play a part in the Voices of Black Women study. So again, if you're not eligible to join, you can get involved by sharing this study with your networks and why it is important. You can reach out to those of us on the ACS team and ask us about ways to get involved, or you can become a Voices ambassador. Our Voices ambassadors, a lot of them are people who aren't eligible for the study. Maybe they are past the age of enrollment, or maybe they are a cancer survivor, and our cancer survivors are our best ambassadors because they know why this is so important. So if you're not able to join the study, you can be involved as an ambassador. And then again, Voices of Black Women has its own website, voices.cancer.org. So you are welcome to go there and find more information about how to become an ambassador or how to enroll in the study. Next slide, please. And I'll turn it over to Daniela to talk more about our Making Strides events.
Thanks, Elise. Dakota, can we show this video? If not, we can send it in the link.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, perfect. That's okay. We can go to the next slide. Okay. Well, my name is Daniela Nea Kane. I am the event manager for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer of Chicago on October 18th. Making Strides Against Breast Cancer is the nation's #1 breast cancer movement. So that means when people think about fundraising for Breast Cancer Awareness Month or attending events, Making Strides is that number one event happening across the U.S. Thanks to support from our walkers and participants, we are able to raise important funds that save more lives from breast cancer. So I'd like to introduce you to Sarah Flores. She is our Chicago Portraits of Hope Ambassador, which is a ambassador program that the American Cancer Society and Making Strides has done since last year. And these women are a group of amazing ladies that are all breast cancer survivors that are essentially spokespeople for the American Cancer Society and for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. They're here to advocate for others. They're here to share their story and fundraise as well. So I'd like to pass it over to Sarah, and she's going to talk a little bit about her journey.
Thank you so much, Daniela. I really appreciate it. As she said, my name's Sarah Flores. I'm honored and grateful to be here today to represent the Portraits of Hope for the American Cancer Society. We're 11 days away from the walk, so that's super exciting. It's coming up really quick. But my story with cancer really began in the summer of 2023. I was 37 years old at the time, and my daughter turned 1 in May of that year. And so at that point in my life, I was starting to sleep. My child was starting to sleep, and I was really excited for that summer, truly. And so in June of that year, I weaned off of breastfeeding for her, which if you're a mom who has gone through that, it's a very exciting time. You get a lot of time back. And a couple weeks later, I was driving home from work. It was about July of that summer, and happened to, you're really familiar with your body, and happened to feel a lump in underneath my armpit and in near my breast. And I thought, well, that's really odd. It doesn't hurt, and didn't really think much of it, but I couldn't stop there's a nagging intuition that something wasn't right. And so when I got home that day, I actually mentioned it to my husband, and he felt that it was there too. And with some encouragement from him, I made an appointment with my primary care doctor. And a couple weeks later, went into her, and she felt the same thing. And while no one was raising concern yet, she felt that it was in my best interest to go get that checked out. And so she ordered my first mammogram and ultrasound, and I went in for those a few weeks later, and those came back inconclusive. There were some suspicious findings, and so that led to a biopsy. So on August 1st of 2023, I got, that nightmare of a phone call saying that I had cancer. I couldn't believe it. I always felt that breast cancer shouldn't hit people under a certain age, which is kind of crazy to think about now. But and so from there, I met with my oncologist. I had the imaging done and was quickly determined that I had triple positive breast cancer, which is hormone positive and HER2 positive, which makes it aggressive. And so the recommendation was that I start chemo as soon as possible. And I started it that August. And so I had 6 rounds of TCHP, which is a very specific type of chemo uh, regimen, if you will. And that fall into winter of 2023 was really rough. It was not easy. I was working full time still. I had a young child at home. I certainly had a wonderful community, and I'm very grateful for that because that's what kept me going. But I definitely had the mindset that I was only looking at the finish line, and this wasn't going to change me, and this wasn't going to affect me. Spoiler alert: it changed me a lot. But from there in February, actually February 1st of 2024, I opted to have a double mastectomy. And in that surgery was when they determined they took the pathology to see how the treatment had worked, and it had worked really well. But unfortunately, they still found some active cancer cells in the tumor bed that they had removed. So for me, that meant radiation, and also I continued with 14 rounds of more chemotherapy uh, for the next 8 months, 9 months or so. And so January 2nd of this year, I finished my final chemo round, and I am officially cancer free, which is super exciting. And so I'm happy to be sort of on the other side of it. I'm out of active treatment. I'm certainly still in treatment, but a couple of things that were really part of my story were also American Cancer Society. So the one of the first things that my primary care and my oncologist told me to do was not to Google. Dr. Google is not your friend, and but they did provide us with resources from American Cancer Society to help us just understand more. So I have a wonderful oncologist, but those days in between finding out you have cancer and before you tell your family and all your friends are very confusing, and there's a lot of information that can be thrown at you. And so having the resources from American Cancer Society was crucial, a lifeline, in fact, during that time. And fast forward to now, over the course of my journey, one of the most beautiful things that came from cancer, if you can say that, it's very ugly and not fun, but one of the most beautiful things was the community. So I was able to get introduced to other women who had been fighting the disease, and everyone's story is unique, but having that connection with someone else who's been through a similar journey or understands that is life changing as well. And so I was able to be introduced to actually a portrait of hope from last year, Claudia. She's amazing, and she invited me to do my first Making Strides walk in October of last year, and it is amazing, and it was truly life changing to see women who are currently active fighting and doing something you can't describe. Certainly, I was still in my fight, although at that point I was I was past the really hard chemo, but and then you see survivors who are celebrating, and then honoring those that came before us and advanced treatment. It's just such a beautiful day. So I'm hoping to see all of you on October 18th at the walk. I will be there. Please come say hi. But we're very excited to make some strides against breast cancer.
Thanks, Sarah, for sharing. So yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about making strides against breast cancer and what the money raised at our event goes towards. So like Elise mentioned, our organization runs off of 3 pillars: discovery, patient support, and advocacy. So discovery is our research arm. $84.7 million is currently being invested in breast cancer specific research through 160 grants. Our patient support pillar is our 1-800 helpline. It's our website. It's our ACS Cares app. Think of all the different ways that we support American Cancer Societies, or I'm sorry, support patients and caregivers going through this horrible disease. We have trained and caring staff that are available 24/7 at our 1-800 helpline and our live chat via cancer.org. And that's connecting people to answer questions and all information that you may have. Our advocacy arm is the Action Cancer Network. I'm sorry, the Cancer Action Network. They successfully advocated to increase and protect funding for breast and cervical cancer screening detection across 40 states, including Illinois. Next slide, please. Thank you. So dollars making a difference. So health equity is extremely important for the American Cancer Society. That means that everyone going through a cancer diagnosis gets an equal care, should get equal care and access to care, no matter your race, your gender, your ethnicity, your sexuality. So we are investing $54.67 million in 71 grants across health disparities and health equity research. A lot of those grants are funded, by us and are distributed to researchers, specifically at universities, including local universities here in Chicago, like University of Chicago, University of Illinois, Chicago, Northwestern. Lodging is another patient support program that we offer. Hope Lodges are across the US, and those are places for cancer patients to stay for free because they are, too far from their treatment from their hospital. If they have a several-hour drive or live out of state and need proper care, they can stay at one of our Hope Lodges. And we've provided over 547,000 free nights of lodging to over 36,000 guests. Transportation, which you all know can be tricky. That is a barrier to access to care. If patients can't get to their chemo treatments, they have to take a train and then a bus or a long car ride to their treatment. We offer a Road to Recovery Plan, which is a volunteer program that volunteers drive cancer patients to and from their treatment. So we've served more than 68,000 patients across the US and across Illinois. Next slide. And again, I just want to reiterate that our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer presented by Lemonhead is on October 18th at Soldier Field. It's a really great day. CTA has over 250 employees that come out and participate. The pink minibus is there. CTA is our pink chair sponsor. So the event site opens at 8 o'clock, closes at 12. Again, it's a great day to celebrate survivors and thrivers. And they can go through our Survivor and Thriver tent, get a stash, get their goodie bag, take photo opportunities. We have a lot of fun activities planned. It's family friendly. So please join us. Please scan the QR code on the next slide to register for Team CTA. And with that, we are here to answer any questions you may have. But again, thank you for having us, and we look forward to seeing you on the 18th.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that amazing information. I know it's the Breast Cancer Walk is my first year with the CTA for the Making Strides Walk, so I'm very excited to be there as we all show up and show our support. If there are any questions for anybody in the chat, please feel free to type it in, and I will convey that over to our presenters. We'll give a couple minutes for that Q&A here. All right, looks like we don't have any questions in the chat. But I just want to remind everybody that the Making Strides Walk once again is on October 18th. So if you haven't already signed up for either wellness monitors or the wellness team boards out of the locations. And remember that we are providing swag for all of our employees. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and fill out that jot form so you can secure yourself a hat and a shirt. That way we can all show up and match and make even more of an impact that way too. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. A huge thank you to our presenters. Just some amazing information and such amazing stories shared today. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the walk on the 18th again. I know I keep saying it, but I'm very excited to see CTA show up in force for this amazing cause. Thank you again, everybody, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.